Everybody wants success, but not everybody is ready for what success actually demands. Success isn't just about opportunities showing up, it's about who you must become in order to handle them. Come on, let's go ahead and get into this conversation today. Welcome to Transformation Station, the podcast where growth meets action and leadership meets impact. I'm your host, Adrienne Benton, and today we're diving into a powerful truth. Here's the truth. You're not ready for success. That's right. You heard me. Don't get upset. You're not ready for success. Well, at least not in the way most people think. And today we have a phenomenal guest, Leah Coss, a visionary leader who believes that success doesn't start when you achieve something. Leah is a speaker, author, the CEO, and co-founder of Build a Biz Kids, a national charity helping youth across Canada build confidence, self-worth, and identity through real-world experiences. Leah helps others do the same to stop living through identities built from survival and start building who they want to become on purpose so they can live the life they've always dreamed of. I'm so excited. Leah, welcome to Transformation Station Leadership Podcast. We're so glad to have you today.
Thank you so much. I'm very happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, listen, Leah, as I've been contemplating this particular episode, first of all, I want you to know I'm really excited because I know that we're going to have an amazing conversation because this conversation is it's deep and it's relevant. Now, Leah, I've seen so many people chase success. They were chasing success, but they were exhausted, burnt out, discouraged, some of them even distracted, not because they didn't have the potential, but because they had not developed the foundation to carry what it is that they were asking for, what it is that they were hoping for. So I want to start off by asking you this question. How can leaders recognize when their current mindset or identity is holding them back from the level of success they're striving for?
Great question to just kind of cut into it there with. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, if something that you want has remained out of reach for a period of time that you feel is unreasonable, there's no logical reason for it, that probably means you've hit some sort of threshold. There could be some self-sabotage that's happening in there, some subconscious actions that are keeping you where you are. And, if we remove from, say, business, let's just make it money. Having money, so often we think, oh, once I get the money, then, life will be easier. Then I'll have my stuff together. Then I will, be able to conquer the world. And of course, that's not how it works, right? Otherwise, we'd all be relishing in, money. And a prime example of this is, it's a shocking statistic, but 70% of people who win the lottery, they come into a windfall within 3 to 5 years, they have lost all of it. Now, why? Like, you think you've won millions, just invest it, save it, like stretch it, come on, how could you blow it? And it's not that you are consciously trying to fail. It's that it was uncomfortable on we'll call it a subconscious level, sometimes very conscious. And so they just incrementally made poor decisions to bring them back to where they were comfortable. And comfortable doesn't mean that you're not in pain, right? You could hate where you are. We could take it to physicality. People who yo-yo their diets, they lose 30 pounds, they gain 35. They lose 35 pounds, they gain 45. And it's like that yo-yo. And it's because you are so comfortable in all of the downfalls of that scenario that, as the saying goes, the devil you know is better than the devil you don't. Because when you get a lot of money, when you lose the weight, when you have all of this success, even though your conscious mind is going, yeah, I'll figure it out. It's okay. I'll figure it out. Subconsciously, your mind is just going, no, it's okay. Just, stroking your head, being like, it's okay. Let's just go back to where we're comfortable. Let's just stay there a while longer. It's safe. We know what to expect.
Yeah. So here at Transformation Station, we love to give our leaders, our listeners, our viewers an opportunity to stop and reflect. Everybody, Leah just said a whole mouthful that is actually very powerful. And I want to invite you right here to go ahead and pause and allow yourself to reflect on what is resonating with you as we're talking. We're talking today about not truly always being ready for the success that we are trying to gain. What's going on with you right now? Go ahead and tell us in the comments, what are you resonating with? So Leah, as you were talking, one of the things that I've seen in the workspace is this one here: working harder but not moving anywhere, right? And it's almost like that concept of I only deserve success if I suffer through it. I don't know if you ever talked to anybody, Leah, and it's like you ask them, well, how are things going? And everything they have to say is negative. They're complaining, but it's almost like they need that negativity to feel as though they're actually achieving. Ooh, that's a serious poisonous mindset there. What do you think?
It is. There's a few things that are going on there. Sometimes we're doing that because we don't want people to judge that we're not trying, right?
Mm, mm,
There's also some self-worth that gets wrapped up in there. We actually authentically feel like if I'm not in pain and working 24/7, I don't deserve
deserve
this.
it.
But of
Mhm.
course, what is that finish line when you finally have hit the, oh, you've won, you're good. Like, stop. You deserve the success so you can let it in. Um,
Mhm.
and it's also, it kind of is a way of justifying to yourself, no, I'm really busy. Look at how much stuff that I'm doing. I mentor people who are kind of starting businesses. And this one girl really wants to coach and help other people. And when I
Mhm.
was like, okay, great. Well, what do you want to do? And when we looked at all of her options, she was like, oh, well, writing a book feels like the best one. I'm like, of course it does, because it's passive. You don't
Mhm.
actually have to put yourself out there. You can be busy writing a
Mhm.
book for the next 3 years, and people will go,
Yeah,
oh, she's busy. she's
yes,
on to something big. But when it
yeah.
comes time to then start making the phone calls, to do the media tour, to start publishing, um, it's like there will
Mhm.
be that excuse. So if you're one of those people where you feel like you've started and stopped a lot of businesses, or
Mhm.
even within your business, you've started an initiative and then, oh, wait a minute, shiny object over here. No, this one's a better, no, logically, this is a good business decision. Let's go be busy over here. Let's design a bunch of courses, prototype a bunch of products, but you're never quite getting to market. You're never getting momentum on any one thing. One of those things could be happening there, which is you just want to appear busy so you're not judged. You don't believe
Mercy.
that you've hurt yourself enough or you struggled enough to
Mhm.
earn success, or you're just, you're kind of kidding yourself in, but I'm
Mhm.
busy. I'm busy. No, look, I'm producing. There's things that are happening here. I can show you my calendar. It's like, yeah, but your priorities are really out of alignment.
Mhm. 1000%. We're talking today about mindsets that sometimes hold us back. One other one that I thought of that I think you'll recognize in some of your clients or people over the years is this one: opportunities show up, but they self sabotage. Oh, that is one of the most frustrating right there. I think frustrating for the individual and frustrating for a leader who is leading someone, right? Have you ever had someone who said, I want this, I want this, I want this? You give them the opportunity and then they don't do what needs to be done in order to be
Absolutely. I've
successful.
done it myself.
Yeah.
For sure. And there's
No.
something else to that though, as well. Those opportunities are often all around us. So I think okay, so when I was in my 20s and I started my first business, I produced products that we were selling to like Costco, which is like a large wholesaler, doing a lot of stuff online. But to me, I was like, I really want to get into the big box stores. And there was really like 5 big ones. And I remember just sitting and staring at the phone because I had this scarcity mindset that, well, if I make 5 phone calls and I get 5 no's, like I'm dead in the water. And so I felt like I was working a lot, but I
Mm,
wasn't, because I wasn't picking up the phone. I was just constantly like, well, I could say this and well, maybe I should design a poster. What if they want a brochure? What if,
right.
and just procrastinating from that opportunity because I had a scarcity mindset, being like, oh my gosh, this is it. There's something called the reticular activating system. I'm sure other people on the podcast have talked about this before. Your reticular activating system is your brain's radar. It's
Mhm.
constantly looking to find evidence to validate whatever you believe. And a
Okay.
belief is just a thought you keep thinking. Beliefs are not facts, right?
Mhm.
They're a
Mhm.
thought you keep thinking. And so if you have a belief that you always seem to miss your shot,
Mhm.
you're always going to see opportunities after they've passed because your brain is wanting to pick up on those things. Likewise, if you believe that opportunities are abundant, you know the kinds of opportunities you want to find, they are literally all around you all the
Mm.
time. You just have to be
Mercy.
tuned into seeing them. It's the same adage of, you drive on the streets all the time, but until you decide what kind of car you want to buy and you drive it off the lot, now you see those cars everywhere,
Everywhere. Yep.
right?
It's true.
Yeah. And it's
It's
because you're looking for it, but those cars always were there. They didn't just
mm.
all of a sudden happen to be there. And so it's the
Mm.
same thing with opportunity. It's the same thing with finding good people for your company. It's the same thing with finding, manufacturers, wholesalers, whatever it is in your business, they've always existed. And so I think when we say opportunity, we want to be careful that we don't put too much weight in that because opportunities can sometimes feel like they're scarce,
Mm.
they're abundant. But if you believe that you're always missing them, then yeah, you're always going to see them after something has passed, even though there's other opportunities right next to them, but you're not seeing them. You don't believe that they're there.
I love that right there. Everybody listening and watching, I want you to go ahead in the chat and put hashtag opportunities. I 1000% agree with you. Opportunities are all around us. Many times we get that tunnel vision and we focus on one particular way it's supposed to come, right? Or one particular thing we're supposed to have in order to receive it. But you are absolutely correct. Life will surprise you many times when you open yourself and open your mindset. So I want to ask you this question, right? Because I'm quite sure that there are leaders who are thinking this question along with me. Okay, so I hear you.
What do I
Why
do?
can't I achieve the success, the wealth, the relationship, the body? You talked about losing weight, going up and down. So why is it, if opportunities are all around me, why can't I achieve what it is that I want?
Yeah, and that's where I've started to use the word identity instead of mindset because I think mindset's been used so much. We don't actually know what that means. We think it just means thinking a certain way.
Mhm.
Uh, but so much of it has to do on the non like conscious level. It has to do with our identity, meaning it's more woven into the fabric of who we have been so far. And just like any fabric, you can cut it up and re-stitch it together however that you want. It's just we've kind of operated on a system and who we are today. So let's first define identity. How I see it is identity is who you are when you're by yourself without your phone in your hand and that voice that's talking to you. It's that voice that's talking to you when you're talking to other people, when you're interacting with the world. What is the commentary happening? The other is when life catches you off guard, when you're not on good behavior. Someone cuts you off in traffic, somebody critiques you in a way you were not expecting. What is your reaction? What is the self-talk? Do you get angry, defensive? Those are all things that can help you to understand your operating system as it is today. How do you label yourself? Do you
Mm.
label yourself as someone who I don't take crap from anybody? Well, you might be a little bit aggressive, and maybe that's holding you back because people feel that and they're like, they don't feel very collaborative to me. There's someone who's like, don't mess with me all the time. And it's like, that's not serving you. But why might you feel that way? Well, a
Mm.
lot of times our identity has been built through default survival and coping with what we've experienced. And when we're kids, we have no internal operating system. Everything that's programmed into us is based on the external because we don't have that internal dialogue yet. It's based on our parents praising us and scolding us, our teachers grading us and telling us our perceived worth on an academic level. It's our peers and how they want to or don't want to hang out with us and for what reasons. It's perhaps the traumas, the unexpected things that have occurred to us that we've had to just kind of go, holy smokes, how am I going to react here? And maybe that's why you're like, I don't put up with anything
Mm.
because you had to put up with a lot of things your whole life. And now it's become a defense mechanism. And that's just one example. But like everything, you can rewire it, but it does take practice. because this is your default setting. This is the setting. This is like, we've all probably had that where you're driving home
Right.
and then all of a sudden you look up and you're like, I do not remember the last 20 minutes of that drive, right? You're just on autopilot. That's your
Right.
default. So when you're not completely present in your moment and you're engaging with family, friends, um, sitting down to do your work, it's the end of the day and it's before bed, those default operating systems are often the ones that are getting you up in the morning and you brush your teeth and you go to the bathroom and you do those things in an automated way. But it carries over into so much more. Right.
Yes.
And it's also the energy that you're putting out in the world. And whether you're spiritual or not, I just mean simply, what's the vibe that people are getting when you walk into the room? Right. So, and what is the vibe that you're wanting to put in the room and receive from the room? Receiving as well. If you are someone who is insecure, when people glance your way, you're going to feel like they're staring at you, they're judging you. When meanwhile, they just glanced at you because you moved, right?
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes.
there's so much going on there. And that's really the identity. So your identity with whatever life you are observing, living, feeling, and experiencing is the identity that's like, yeah, this is cool. Like, I'm good here. Even though consciously you're like, I hate this. Like, this is frustrating. I don't feel good. I'm not happy. I don't have healthy relationships. I'm not wealthy. I'm not successful where I think I should be. To do that, you simply need to start reprogramming that operating system on a conscious level. And it absolutely can be done. It's done so many times. It used to be, oh gosh, doctors 20 years ago used to not believe in brain plasticity and the ability for it to change. It was like, no, you are the way that you are. And unless you get to a near-death experience or car accident, that was the only times they really observed massive transformations or people hitting rock bottoms, perhaps with drug abuse or alcoholism, which often is because of a near-death experience or losing everything in their life that they go, something needs to change. Well, you don't need the trauma anymore. We now understand you don't have to have that traumatic experience. Your rock bottom could simply be that you're sick and tired of being sick and tired. So you can do that. And that's where, it's about pick your process, because there's so many different ways that you can go about doing it. It may be a bit of a discovery period for you to figure out how to, but it all starts on the conscious level of you figuring out, what are you not happy with? What could you maybe be doing on a conscious and subconscious level that's holding it apart from you? And that's where some of the identity shifting work is that I do.
Absolutely. I love that. Right. So I think you started off earlier and you were saying that everybody wrestles with these mindsets, right? As we're journeying through life. To all of our leaders listening right now, I want to invite you yet one more time. This is a really deep podcast today where you get a chance to do some personal reflection, right? Because who you are as a leader, as Leah was alluding to, it really goes into who you understand you are as a person. And, Leah, when you were talking, I was thinking about this quote here: your identity doesn't match your goals, right? She said, if your identity doesn't match your goals, you can't build a successful future with a mindset designed to survive the past. Right? Many people are living in survival mode right now. And we always talk about, hey, we don't want you to just survive. We want you to thrive. But we have to understand consciously that survival mode, what that was about, and make conscious decisions to not stay there. So with that, I want to ask you this question, right? There are typically common self-sabotaging habits that people carry because we're human beings, right? And there's nothing new under the sun, right? Can you give us just like maybe two or three from your experience, from what you've seen, right, with your coaching? What are some of the most, two or three of the most common habits that you've seen that people carry that prevent us from stepping into a higher level of leadership or stepping into success?
Well, I'll give you one that I recall very, very clearly. I was in a coffee shop. I had clients at the time. This was back in my other hat days. So for 20 years, I was actually a franchise development consultant. And so I was meeting with someone in Starbucks. They wanted me to assess their business, see if this was, something they could franchise out or how could they systematize it, et cetera, et cetera. And as I'm listening to them, I was like, oh, this is interesting. Yeah, but I've got to... I don't know. I don't know if they're good enough. I don't know if this is one I should take on. I think I'm a little too busy. I've got really, and in my mind, I was like pushing it away, obviously, but by inflating my ego of, I don't take clients like this. And there was nothing wrong with the client, but it was like, and that was part of my journey where I actually started to become conscious of, why am I not getting momentum? And so that was on my reticular activating system. It started to kick in, being like, why aren't you getting more work? Why aren't you getting busier and more successful? And it was that moment in that coffee shop that I was like, oh, wow, I am consciously pushing away, like justifying before the ask even comes, pushing away a potential client. How ridiculous is that? Like on a conscious level, you would laugh and you'd be like, okay, that's pretty obvious.
We
But
do it all
you
the time.
do that subconsciously when you're
Yep.
on a sales call, when you're staring at the phone going, you know what, I've got these other fires I've got to put out. I'm not going to do prospecting today, or whatever the case is, right? And so you're just kind of making excuses. Other ways of noticing these trends is if you are one to write to-do lists, how long has the thing at the top of your to-do list shifted from yesterday to today to the next day? It's like, because you're putting it off, and chances are that's probably a linchpin of some kind. One of the mantras that I've really, because there really is, there's so many different self-sabotages, right? Like picking a fight with your partner or an employee, right? Like so unnecessary, but you just come in already feeling like you're going to push something away, or you want to pick a fight. Why? A lot of different reasons, right? So we can go through that. But yeah, it's really just about getting focused on what is it that you want, and understanding, or rather looking at the things on your list and asking yourself, if I did this one thing, what would change? What could change, right? And you need to create more of like this visceral emotional reaction to the things that you're pushing off. And one of the mantras that I've really become fond of is when I start to feel resistance towards doing something. If I'm like, often in the mornings I get really pumped. I'm like, oh, I'm definitely going to tackle this big project today. And then, sure enough, I sit down at my computer and I find a lot of things that I should do first before that thing, right? And so I've become very conscious of it. So when I say, wow, I'm feeling resistance, why don't I just want to get this out of the way? It's usually because I know that if I did it, it's actually going to push me through to a next level of something. And so I started becoming quite excited when I feel resistance, because I go, if I just do that, I'm at a new level. I've now practiced a new level. I'm going to have to keep doing that a few more times before it starts to feel normal again. But that resistance, you can start to, create a different association for yourself of excitement.
I love that 1000%. It's almost like a signal. Hey, there's something more that's coming, right? That shift is where it's ready to happen. Here's one that I have seen so often: procrastination disguised as planning. I'm not going to raise my hand, right? And if you're listening and this is you, just say ouch and keep it to yourself. Just say ouch, right? People spend months strategizing, researching, organizing, or waiting for the right time. That phrase right there, waiting for the right time. Leaders, Leah and I are talking to you today. If you are one that is sitting down and you're waiting for the right time, we want to ask yourself why. Why? What? And like Leah said, what would change if I just did that next thing? What would change if you as a leader had that hard conversation? What would change if you went ahead and went back to school? What would change, right? Be able to stop and answer the questions, because, I don't know about you, Leah, but I've learned through life, rarely is there a right time, especially when you're talking about being successful and moving to the next level. Now, sometimes there's a season, right? And sometimes, you need to be in a certain season, got it. But if you're just sitting back waiting for that perfect moment to shift, that perfect moment's not coming. And that perfect moment actually could be right now.
Yeah. And when you reflect on why something felt really easy one day and then the next day it feels difficult, it's usually because your state of mind. I want to bring up as well, like I'm very spiritual and I very much believe in intuition and following guidance and the energy, if you will. Sometimes though, in that commentary, people go, oh, I'm not feeling drawn to it today. It's for a reason. I'm not supposed, and it's like they're using spirituality to kind of justify not doing something because it's not in alignment for me today.
Right.
No, what it is I've actually got something called an emotional pathway. And, gratitude has been this big word that people are like, be grateful, be grateful. When you feel gratitude, good things come, right? The problem is for many of us, feeling grateful or getting onto the higher end of that emotional pathway is very difficult because we wake up in a state of anxiety, states of anger or depression, states of overwhelm and worry, and even panic. And when we feel that, forcing whatever project out, you're actually probably better off not doing it because you're not going to do a good job and you really aren't aligned with the vision. And you very much are in a self-sabotaging mindset because you're in a state of unworthiness or feeling like the world is out to get you and things like that. But that's not how you always feel. For many of us, sometimes it's the majority of the time you're feeling these lower emotions. But there is a way to get you up there. And I'm starting to write a book called Grasping at Gratitude, because so many of us start to feel like, man, am I broken? Like, I can't just feel gratitude on a whim. Like, people keep saying, write your list of gratitude. It's like, I can't. Like, do you understand all the stuff going on in my world right now? But you can get there, and you can get there in a matter of minutes. So when it comes to you looking at the thing on your list, instead of kicking yourself for not doing it again or pushing it off again, instead kind of detach from it and focus on your emotions and go, I know that if I felt a more positive emotion right now, this would feel a lot easier. And that's where this process of walking along this emotional pathway comes. If you can imagine, we've probably all had that moment where life has fallen apart. Maybe a relationship broke up, we lost a job, lost a bunch of money, whatever it is. And a friend comes over and goes, everything will be fine. Don't worry. And you just want to punch them in the face because you're like, you know what? I'm over here and you're trying to get me over here. And I can't make that leap right now. I'm going to need a minute, right? And that's because they've tried to yank you there. And so often we sit there in the state of depression or dismay of some kind, and we go, I just want to feel happy. It's too much of a leap. There are emotions, though, that are closer in your reach. If you feel depressed and numb and grief, if you feel some rage, jealousy, even like, a vendetta, like revenge or something, as long as you do that in your own safety of your own home and you're not going out in the world with this feeling, moving those emotions is actually more positive, right? Even though society says, no, calm down, don't get so enraged. No. If you are feeling numb, feel rage, feel revenge. And then once you feel that state and you go, oh yeah, I hate this person, or oh gosh, I wish their house would burn down, or whatever the case is, you kind of move up to say like worry, or disappointment, doubt, and that feels like a bit of relief, but still safe because it's not so far away. You're not reaching for happiness. And then you go up to like overwhelm and maybe like confused and then frustrated and, some pity for others, and you feel a little stupid, and, you're walking your way up until you get to this point of being content and a little detached, and you're like, it is what it is. Okay. Now, well, maybe I can reach for a bit of optimism. Like, I know it's not all bad. It's not always been bad. I've had good days. And you start reaching for some hope, and then you work up into optimism. And then all of a sudden you're into, happiness. And then gratitude's around the corner, right? And the thing is gratitude is also not the highest state of emotion. Gratitude is still comparing to something worse that could have happened. So grateful for my home because I could be homeless. So grateful for my job because even though I hate it, it brings me money. It's still pulling a little bit of negativity. So true appreciation and unconditional love are those higher states that you want to get to. But we also don't live up there, right? It's actually, it gets boring after a while living up there. You need a little bit of spice in life. But I wanted to mention just that reach, because when it comes to procrastination, if you're listening to this, then you've got the potential and the capability. A lot of times the things that it takes to do the things on our to-do list is picking up a phone or writing an email or doing some research. All actions we've done 1,000 times before. So it's not about the action. It's not about a special skill. We're not trying to throw the javelin in the Olympics. That you need training for, okay? You know how to phone and write an email. It's what's behind it, the energy that you've put into it, the importance or significance you've placed into it, the out of your comfort zone of the outcome that could come from that. And so, you can do that. But being in a higher state of emotion is going to allow you to not only make it feel easier, but you're going to be more aligned with the outcome that you want instead of introducing self-sabotage. So I guess in short, don't force yourself to do the things on your to-do list just because. Get yourself into the emotional headspace to do a good job and then take it on.
I love this. This is like a master class, like seriously. And I think it's perfect timing, right? Because, we're out here, we're in the organizations, we're leading. People see the suit, they see, what appears to be power. And yet many times they forget that underneath the suit, underneath the position really is a real person who is dealing with real emotions. And I love the fact that you invited all of us as leaders, right? Many of the leaders here are high driven. They're dealing with crisis and many like go, go, go. But you encourage everybody to, you said feel. Like if you feel numb, then allow yourself to feel rage. If you feel jealousy, allow yourself to feel contempt. And I've often said to myself, Leah, like, we're human beings. We're going to feel sad and lonely and depressed. Like we're human beings. It's what we do with it that makes the difference. And you invited us to feel, but then channel that feel, but then move it into something that is productive, right? So I want to move down and ask you this question. How can we become a leader who inspires our team, right? We're leaders. We're driven for success. You are giving us frameworks to be able to, accept our humanity, remove those things that hold us back, right? And to walk forward being successful. Now, how do we channel that to where we now can inspire our teams?
Great question. The first thing that you need to understand is, what does all of what you just said mean? What is a successful leader? Because my thoughts of what a successful leader is might be different from someone else. And you need to define that for yourself. And here's why. Because if your goal is to be a successful leader and you start acting in a way that you believe is being a successful leader, but someone critiques you from the outside and you care what other people think, and you're shaping what success and being a successful leader means based on external output, you are in a rat race. You are never going to win. You are, it's that thing that we were talking about before about self-worth. I got to keep working. I got to keep working. Well, because you haven't defined when you are worthy. And so here's the thing. I'm also not saying define what worthiness is, define what a successful leader is, and then achieve it. And then I'm also not saying that. I'm saying you already are worthy. You already are a successful leader. On the scale of success, you are on there already. And even when you're a millionaire, you will then say, but I'm not successful because I'm not a billionaire. And then the billionaires are going, well, I could be a trillionaire. It's all relative, right? There's a great book by Dan Sullivan called The Gap and the Gain. And it speaks to this, which is, if we're always looking forward to say, I haven't reached my goal yet, well, that goal is always changing. Literally every day it shifts a little bit because we've gained more perspective of what's possible. And so that gap is constantly moving. But if we instead look backwards and we go, wow, look at where I was to where I am now, that where I was is fixed. And now we're feeling inflated because of the gain instead of the gap. That's always going to be a gap. So, so because we can't really define success, if you were to define it, feel it already that you have aspects within you that you've already demonstrated that were successful. You've already had successful relationships and conversations with employees. Maybe not all of them, but you've had them before. So you are, by definition, already successful. What you now want to do is feel it. Because if you don't feel it and feel like you're capable and know that you're always a work in progress, unconditionally love yourself for your faults, knowing that you are always trying to be better, that's really all you can ask of yourself. So yeah, I guess the pieces to pull from that, to recap, is you cannot ever not define it enough to a point where you're relying on external components to tell you what that is, because they're all going to have a different opinion. So you're always going to lose. The other is to recognize that you're never done. There's no one right answer. So feel really content in that and know that you're already demonstrating all of the successful components. at
Mhm.
some point along your career. It's just a matter of you now getting in tune to do them more readily and
Mhm.
better because you're always growing.
I love that. So as we turn the corner here, I want to ask you this final question. Talk to us, right? Talk to us. We're all leaders here. What is one major personal shift that you had to make in your own leadership journey to become the person who could handle the success you have right now?
Hmm. I'm still moving along that path of success. And what I've come to realize is that being aware that I'm always on this journey, I think has been the biggest peace of mind for me because
Mhm.
I really had, even though I displayed the complete opposite growing up, which was overconfidence, arrogance sometimes, pulling other people down to feel better, right? But that all stemmed from low self-worth and not feeling good enough. I think really embodying the notion that you're never going to be done, not
Mhm.
enough, done. You're never going to be done. Um, Comes with a sense of relief because over the years, I've used so many different processes, had so many different gurus and coaches that I've followed or mentored from. And so there's a
Mhm.
lot of ways of getting to that next threshold that you want.
Yes.
Um, it's about knowing that you always can get to that next threshold and feeling some peace of mind or comfort internally. I really believe your greatest superpower is when you can comfort yourself and control your own emotions so that
Mhm.
no matter what somebody says to you, no matter what happens in the world around you, you always know that how you feel is up to you. And that is such a superpower, especially in this day and
Mhm.
age where the outside world has access, very easy access to you and to
Yeah.
give their opinions from behind their keyboards. And so it's really important that you can console yourself and that you can soothe yourself and know for yourself that, you know,
Mm.
you're good. You're doing just fine.
Absolutely. Well, wow. Again, I have to reiterate the word. This has been like a masterclass, a very successful one. And I want to thank you for all that you deposited into Transformation Station leadership community. So I want to ask you this question. I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that we have leaders that want to tap into the you and into the resources that you provide. So how can we do that?
Best place to find me is on LinkedIn, or you can go to my website. I'm the only Leah Coss out there, so I'm really easy to find if you Google me. But yeah, LinkedIn is probably the best place if you would like to connect. And if you want to book me for speaking or inquire about anything else, you can also find me on my website.
Absolutely. Well, we're looking forward to that upcoming book. We need you to go ahead and finish it so we can buy it and understand how to grasp gratitude, right? Thank you again so much. It's been wonderful to have you with us today, Leah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well, listen, we learned today from Leah that success is not an accident. It's alignment, it's readiness, it's personal transformation, meeting opportunities that are right around us. If this conversation with Leah challenged you, inspired you, or made you rethink how you show up to the world, to your workspace, to the team that you lead, I want to invite you right now to go ahead and share this episode with somebody else who's building and dreaming or grinding towards a bigger future. Follow Transformation Station. Remember, every Monday and Wednesday, there's a new episode. You have already pushed us over 2,500 downloads. Come on, go ahead and get caught up and move us to 3,000. Don't forget to also drop a comment. Drop a comment right now. Let us know what resonated with you. As a matter of fact, I need you to reach out to Leah and let her know that you heard or you saw this particular episode. And also just tell her, what are you preparing for and how you're doing it? All right. Well, listen, until next time, stay ready, stay growing, and keep transforming from the inside out.